Barcelona 3, Real Oviedo 0. And if you think that that was a great performance from Barcelona, if you're a Barcelona fan watching this and you're coming to this video thinking that I'm going to be glazing your team, I mean, that was so lucky. And Barcelona, of course, got top of the Liga again. But what a lucky result that was. Of course, coming into this game, Pedri was injured. You know, there are many things that Barcelona is struggling with at the moment. Of course, Barca did, beat Slavia Prague on the weekend in the Champions League, which wasn't fantastic either. But look, fact of the matter is that performance of Barcelona today, whether or not you've gone top of the league, wasn't good enough whatsoever. Of course, in terms of lineups, Flick decided to go with Cancelo at left back and he went with Eric Garcia at right back. The two centre backs were Gerard Martin and Curbasi, of course. In midfield, it was Frenkie, it was Casado, and it was Dani Olmo, and up front, Rafinha, Lamine Yamal, and Lewandowski. And look, Barcelona's first half was pretty shocking to me. I mean, just watching some of the play from Barcelona, I thought that, Cancelo at left back was pretty awful. They didn't create anything whatsoever. That left side was non-existent. And Lamine Yamal had no support from Eric Garcia on the right side. And look, the stats show it. 0.52 XG for Barcelona, 0.13 for Oviedo. Look, this is one of the worst teams in La Liga, probably the worst team. Look, they did have some threat, but Barcelona should be smashing teams like this, especially at home. But look, without Pedri's, Barca's, struggles in build-up continues. Barcelona are not able to sustain pressure or sustain possession to keep pressure on the opponents because Frenkie de Jong kind of has to do everything himself. But with, Cancelo at left back, with Gerard Martin at left centre-back, and Rafinha as well, that side was pretty much non-existent. And Dani Olmo again had a horrible half in that first half. Look, Barca had 5 shots. Oviedo actually had more shots than Barcelona with 6, and they had 2 shots on target. Oviedo was Barcelona's 1, and there was only 1 big chances created for Barcelona. So look, that isn't good enough at all. These type of performances from Barcelona in the first half are not good enough. And I said at half time he needs to put on Balde or someone and swap Cancelo over to the right side, put Eric centre back, because it clearly wasn't working, because Rafinha wasn't getting any support on the left side because Cancelo kept coming into the midfield, and on the right side Eric Garcia wasn't overlapping or so giving Lamine any support. So look, this was like I said, that first half was a pretty shocking half. Second half, on comes Koundé and goes to the right back. Eric Garcia then goes centre back, and then you do see a bit of a change in Barcelona's play, and immediately Barcelona score. A Dani Olmo kind of great finish inside the box, but it was a deflection or a mistake by Oviedo. They failed to clear the ball. Same thing happened with the second goal for Rafinha, an absolute gift to let Rafinha go 1v1, and he chips the keeper. And the third goal was an absolute magisterial goal by Lamine Yamal, it has to be said. A scissor kick from inside the box. It was fantastic goal. That was the goal of the night, of course. But look, the same issues with Barcelona happened. Yes, the XG was better, but the XG was because of the gifts that Oviedo did give him. And look, Barcelona are winning games, but they're not convincing in whatsoever, and they're not convincing in 90 minutes of play. And look, if that was a better team tonight, if that was Real Madrid maybe on their day, or even Bayern Munich or Arsenal, they beat them right there and then in that first half, because Oviedo, like I said, they had more shots on target, and they could have actually got in a few times, but they just don't have the quality to be a big team like Barcelona. And I also think Hansi Flick kind of doesn't know what to do with his Barcelona team at times, because there are just in-game situations where Barcelona's high line, you can tell it just gives a bit of anxiety to the players. And a lot of the quality that Barcelona show is very vertical. They just rely on an individual brilliance. And it's a bit similar to Real Madrid. I think Barcelona's settled possession isn't the best. And look, Pedri not being there, we have to talk about that. Of course, Pedri being out for a month is going to massively struggle Barcelona in some games. Like, look, of course, with Barcelona play Copenhagen next, Barcelona are going to keep struggling. Not in the Copenhagen game, of course, but Barcelona are still going to struggle without Pedri. There's just too many things that Barcelona lack without Pedri. And that, positional play. And like I said before, I'd love him for Real Madrid. Real Madrid have the same issue. They don't have players that are able to control games and allow teams to, allow Barcelona to pass out of the back. Real Madrid struggle with the exact same thing. So I'm not convinced by this Flick team. I'm not convinced by this Barcelona team. I just think their game is too much of a chaos game. And I think, like I said, against the best teams in the world, like the PSGs, Bayern Munichs, the Arsenals, better teams are going to beat Barcelona every single time, and this is why I can't see Barcelona winning Champions League. Look, La Liga is one of them things that Barcelona, can win, because of course when they do play with Pedri, they do have players who are able to kind of, take the sting out of games and beat the low blocks. But Barcelona with the low block without Pedri is absolutely shocking, and Barcelona are not able to, like I said, create more than 1 or 2, 3 good chances. It's very much give it to Lamine, let Lamine dribble 1 or 2 players, maybe find Rafinha in the box to Lewandowski. That side isn't going to be good. Now, of course, Ferran Torres is also injured. Now, he was top scorer for Barcelona before he left. So, look, there are many injuries for Barcelona, of course. Gavi's not returned yet. There are many things that Barcelona are not struggling with. Like, of course, Fermin was benched today, but he did come on in the second half for Rafinha. So, Fermin Lopez, of course, one of the most consistent performers of Barcelona. Maybe they missed him as well. Dani Olmo is pretty non-existent. I presume Fermin needed some. That win, of course, takes Barcelona top of La Liga, 1 point ahead of Barcelona. 1 point ahead of Real Madrid, of course, and Barcelona have got Elche next. Real Madrid playing at home to Rayo Vallecano. So look, La Liga is on. La Liga is, the title race is hotting up now. Of course, Atletico Madrid are quite a bit further behind now. So it's going to be completely Barcelona, Real Madrid for this title. But look, I'm not convinced by this Barcelona side. I don't know what you guys think, but I just think Barcelona, it's not a sustainable way of playing, especially with that high line. There's too much anxiety. Barca fans, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Is La Liga yours? Are you confident in your team delivering every single week in La Liga? Do you think you got a chance in Champions League? And Real Madrid fans or any other fans, what do you think of that Barca performance? Does that give you more confidence with Arbeloa's performance yesterday in terms of managerial kind of setup? And of course, do you think that Real Madrid can win this title over Barcelona? Of course, like, subscribe, and as always, don't forget to always come back to A9 Media for real football content analysis. And until next time, hello.